Good evening. It is 6 o'clock and we will begin our commissioners meeting. We will have a prayer by our county administrator, Murray Waldrop, followed by the pledge led by Commissioner Martin.
Father, we want to thank you for the country we live in. Thank you for the blessings, the freedoms we enjoy. Thank you for our community that we live in, the benefits that we see here of being in a good community with a lot of good community spirit. Lord, we ask your blessing on this board, that the decisions made here tonight will be for your honor and your glory and for the benefit of our community. We ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Everyone, would please stand and take the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everyone has viewed the agenda. May we get a motion to accept the agenda?
We do have one item to come off. That would be item number 21. Item 21.
Item 21, removed. Okay. Anything else? Okay, can we get a motion to accept the agenda with the removal of item 21?
Madam Chairman, I make the motion we accept the agenda as is with removal of item number 21.
Motion made by Commissioner Nix, second by Commissioner Abrams, that we accept the agenda and remove item 21. All in favor? Unanimous. Meeting is called to order, and we will now have the approval of the minutes from the meetings of February 9th, 10th, and March 3rd.
I make the motion that we accept the minutes from February 9th, 10th, and the 3rd if there's no other correction. Madam Chair, I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Abrams, second by Commissioner Nix, that we approve the minutes of meetings February 9th, 10th, and March 3rd. All in favor? Unanimous. Next item on the agenda, Judge Moore wants to give us an update to probate court. Judge Moore. Okay, thank you. I think I got two or three done. Is this separate or together?
It's all the same.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Judge Moore and everyone else, let's try to condense this to 5 minutes.
Well, I first want to just let you know I'm much appreciative of our commission's approval of our CJT case management software, which has been really helpful in allowing us to streamline the work that we have. We also, as of today, prayerfully, if everything is finished, we should have the capability as early as next week to be able to accept credit cards payments for everything that's going on in the probate court. That being said, it gives basically an outline, because I know there's maybe some confusion about what the probate court actually does, or maybe there's been some misinformation. So you see there is a detailed explanation on a couple of these pages that kind of just shares what the court actually does and the responsibilities And so as I have been becoming better acclimated with the job and spending more time learning, reading the books and reading upon the laws, I find there's still some work that we need to do. The times are demanding much more. As we recognized in our county, we have grown in other areas, and one of the things I kind of recognize is that our probate court is probably the most bare-bone department that we have. And while that was good then, the times are demanding so much more. So I'm asking if we can, and I'm making it public, if we can ask or receive an additional clerk. And as you can see in the blue probate court mission page, if you'll look, I did a survey of all the counties around, including those that are closest to our population size and somewhat over. And I found that every county around the state, not just those that are closest to us, but every county around the state has at least 2 full-time clerks, or depending on the population size, especially if they're closer to our size. So I recognize there is a need for us. And as I'm doing orders and scheduling calendars and scheduling hearings and notarizing and doing weapons carry, which has increased as of 2019, weapons carry was around 400 total for the year. 2020, it doubled to more than 1,000. And we're on pace now. As of right now, I think we are at or about 220 weapons carries applications. And thus far, I've seen none that have been denied for any infractions at all, thus far since I've been there. So what it's telling me is that there's certainly a need, and so I'm asking for some additional assistance there in the office by way of a full-time clerk. I want to bring that to you all and kind of make you all aware of what where we're at in the probate court.
Presentation complete.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions for Judge Moore?
Now, Judge Moore, looking at the comparisons from the other counties, were any of the probate courts that list more than one also serving the traffic citations that didn't have a state court in the county?
Yes, there are several of those that are serving traffic as well. We being the vital records custodian here and also being responsible for maintaining and the custodian for the law library, it almost keeps that same amount of work, that caseload for us as well. And when I polled all the counties around that have multiple workers, most have questioned and queried, how is it possible that we're surviving with just one full-time clerk and the judge himself? And especially in this pandemic that we have, if any one of us should become sick or have to be home for quarantine, we put the county at a huge disservice because there's no one there who can cater to the needs and the things that our county is going to need. So that's something that, that's one reason why, another reason why I'm requesting another person.
What would another employee cost the county?
Well, that's a very good question. So I'm not just looking for just someone who can come in and do paperwork, but I want someone who is GCIC certified, who has the capability to have the experience with regards to weapons carries, who can spot those infractions. Something else that I was made aware of is that there have been several audits past audits that have happened for weapons carry that has caused us to possibly not pass the audit. And that's possibly because there was an enormous workload on just the previous administration. And although times have increased, there was not an increase there in probate.
So presently, are you all doing the fingerprinting for the permits? What are you all doing in that aspect? So
that happens with our agreement with the Sheriff's Department. They handle our fingerprinting for us. But what I would like to do is eventually be able to remove that burden from the sheriff's department so that we could handle that as well. I understand that we already have the equipment there at the courthouse to handle fingerprinting. And there has been a conversation that the sheriff has had, I think, about scheduling fingerprinting. The only thing about that is if it's done and the appointments are scheduled for fingerprinting on a less frequent basis, it's going to really only cause our caseload to continue to increase. And one of the things that I ran into was that there were several, to the tune of probably, if we did the math, about $2,800 weapons carry licenses that have been, for one reason or another, between probate and the sheriff's department, it has been dropped. The ball has been dropped. So now we present another issue because who's going to cover that? If those citizens didn't get their weapons carry licenses and the time has expired, if they're renewals, so they have to pay for new ones, so whose responsibility does that fall upon? And if we have that capability within the probate court ourselves, we don't necessarily have to worry about sending information back to the sheriff's department or it being lost in the shuffle. And that's not disparaging any organization. That's just the truth of the matter. Sometimes with paper, things get lost. Am I right?
Where does the send person to the sheriff's office with fingerprinting and they pay the fee out there?
Yes, sir.
Where does that money go?
So that money actually doesn't totally go to us. There are different aspects of this that's going to be covered. So we don't technically get any of that, but we have to pay the fees for the licensure. So GBI or fingerprints are going to, and then there's PASP, which is another, the company that actually issues the weapons carry's license.
But you get a fee, and then when it goes to the sheriff's department, they get a fee also.
Yes, sir. And we're receiving fees, but not all of those fees are being deposited to our respective accounts.
Any more questions for Judge Moore? Now, Judge Moore, you did this presentation. Are you expecting for an action?
Oh, sure. Yes, ma'am. I would expect to hear something. I would love to hear you all give me some kind of declarative answer about, and I'm not asking for this person to start tomorrow, but I certainly need to see somebody come to that office because we are in need of that office. And I spoke with even some of the local attorneys around, and the consensus is that there should be an improvement. I think we've seen improvements from everywhere. Before January 4th, 2021, the probate court was acting or operating the same way it did 100 years ago. Wow. So it's certainly, we've seen that there's an improvement in time, not only in technology, but in society. And many people we're doing things online. We have people coming in. And so we certainly need that support.
Now, right now, we have not allocated an extra person in the budget.
Yes, ma'am.
So we don't have the allocation for that yet. So any suggestions on that?
So what do I need to do to get that budget approved and we can get it moving forward? What do you want me to do?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to come back with that, go over that list of counties and give you a report of which of those probate courts are handling elections, which ones are handling traffic court, and which ones are handling just the gun permits and vital records. Because the traffic court is a bigger burden, and I know some of those counties, even though they're our size, those probate courts are handling a different set of duties. That way you can make the most informed decision. You can see what, compare apples to apples.
Let me also just say, I heard Merv make mention of the traffic court. Now, probate court doesn't just do vital records and traffic or elections and So vital records includes death certificates, birth certificates, anybody that wants one from over the state of Georgia, they can come to our office. We have people that travel from Florida every week that are wanting death or birth certificates because they were born here and they moved away, or people are mailing it in. So that's just one aspect, but we still have to deal with the funeral homes are dealing with death certificates. Vital records in and of itself is a beast all by itself. So if we had someone who could be dedicated to, say, assisting with the probate issues and weapons carry, and then we had a clerk that could handle our vital records, that would certainly give us the manpower we need to be much more efficient for the county again. And we're working synergistically together. So I know you all want the best, right, for the county, and I certainly want the best. And that's what I campaigned on.
Okay, thank you, Judge Moore, and Merv will get us the information, the comparative information that's presented in your package. Right now, we have no action on your item.
Yes, ma'am. So when should I expect to hear back from you all with regards to that?
What's the time, good time?
I'll start doing my survey. The end of this week, probably the middle of next week, I can give the board a report. I don't know that you're not going to meet again for the whole board until next month. I would think that would give you enough time to do your study.
Okay, next month.
So I'll be back on the agenda next month, or am I just coming to hear what y'all say next month?
Either or.
I'm just trying to get some clarification so I know where I'm going to be at next month.
Well, you'll be receiving the information that we have, and if you have some input or comments, then you say what you have to say.
So will you all be including me in that conversation or that hearing with regards, or that meeting on these other courts around?
You'll receive the information. We will meet that same time that
Yes,
you will meet, but you will receive the information when we receive the information.
Yes, ma'am. Mm. All right. I just think it will be important to get someone who's actually in the office, and by all means, feel free to come over and just spend a few minutes and find out what we do. I invite everybody to come over and check it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, next on the agenda, Daniel T. Fowler Jr., Land Development Code and RV Park. Mary, did you want to introduce what was going on?
There's been some concern about a proposed RV park in the north end of the county along Story Mill Road. Mr. Fowler had some concerns about it. The Planning Commission has, as an item number 8, is asking the board to consider a moratorium on this type of development until they can address some of the concerns about RV parks around the county. Mr. Fowler is here to express his concerns.
Thank you, Murph. I appreciate the opportunity to come before the board and speak. Is it okay if I took my mask off? I'd like to see my face. Okay, thank you. So I appreciate the introduction. I wasn't even going to talk about the situation we have in North Burke County. I was coming to speak more to a county-wide situation that we have. We got news. We woke up one morning, saw a variant sign on the intersection that I grew up on. I currently practice law in Atlanta. I live in Atlanta, but I come home all the time. Saw a variant sign on our intersection, learned that an RV park was coming to our neighborhood. And by all accounts, there's nothing we could do about it. It was allowed by right. So that got me thinking, what is an RV park? No idea what an RV park. I haven't been living in Burke County for the past 5 years. Apparently, you guys have a common knowledge definition of what an RV park is. So I started looking at satellite photos of RV parks in Burke County. Usually a 2-acre parcel on the eastern side of the county with 50 to 140 RV spots lined up. RVs are already there. You can bring your own RV. You can stay in an RV that's already there. So I kind of got an idea that's what an RV park is. But then I looked at Google Maps Street View, looked at them, walked down the street electronically to see what an RV park is. They have mailboxes out front. And when I was thinking of an RV park, I was thinking maybe like a state park that you bring your camper to, you bring your RV to, you visit for the weekend, you leave, you might stay for a week, who knows. But when I saw mailboxes, I was thinking, maybe this doesn't line up with what I was thinking of an RV park, and maybe this isn't the type of neighbor that I want without having a right to say, do we want 50 new neighbors that move in beside us? And then I looked at the reviews for the RV parks. RV park reviews were great restaurants nearby, close to work, easy to get to Augusta, close to work, beer, beverages, nice neighbors, quiet campsite, close to work. Almost all of them were close to work. And again, I went back and looked at the map, and this is me catching up to what you all know today. They're all on the eastern side of 25. There are a few, I think 2 or 3 on the west side of 25. And they all cater to the build-out of reactors 3 and 4 so far. And I think people are there for a while. They're government contractors that come in to build out 3 and 4. We don't have anywhere else to put them, so it makes sense, right? The RV park, efficient housing. These guys get paid per diem. It's cheap housing. They get to pocket the remainder that they don't pay in housing, and that's a boost in their salary that they wouldn't otherwise get. So I get it. So that's the common knowledge, working knowledge definition of an RV park. So that's an RV park, and it's permitted by right? But then, I started talking to people, and I realized that people that own land in Burke County are trying to rezone it from R1, R4, whatever they have, to A1, so they can develop these RV parks. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That shouldn't be happening in that type of RV park that I've come to understand, where people live on a permanent basis until they're done with their job, 12 months, 18 months, and then they go home. That's not really, that's more of a residential use of land than it is an agricultural use of land. So RV parks are permitted in A1, agricultural, and then CG and CC, commercial uses. And most of the RV parks that are popping up that are outside of Girard city limits are in A1, and they stay A1 the whole time. And then I went to the code, and I guess the code that I'm referring to, I call it the Land Development Code. It phased out the Land Development Code. It's the Ordinance Code. I don't know what we're referring to it now, but it's the zoning statutes for Burke County. And in a zoning code, there are 2 things that are really important. Words are always important in law, right? That's what, if it says yes, it means yes. The other thing is uses of land are supremely important in a zoning code. What can you use land for? What can't you use land for? And I looked at the definitions, and I came away thinking that, let me just read the definition for commercial campground. RV park is not defined in the code, in the zoning ordinances for Burke County. Commercial campground is what the equivalent to an RV park is, and here's the definition of commercial campground. It's a plot of ground on which 2 or more companies are located, campsites. 2 or more campsites are located, established or maintained for temporary occupancy by camping units for recreation or vacation purposes, and which are rented out for such purposes. So they have to be camping units, which they are, RVs, but they have to be for recreation or vacation purposes, rented out for such purposes. That's not what's happening right now. Those reviews should say, enjoyed the trip to Dye Lane Plantation. It was awesome. I come here the first week of every January to go hunting with my son. It's a great trip we always have every year. That's not what these reviews say. Close to work, close to work, close to work. Everybody knows what's happening. I just caught on to what's happening. My concern is that this use is going to, I think we're going to be stuck with RV parks in Burke County unless we do something about it. And it's just going to be a movement of where they are around Burke County. I looked at the joint development plan that you guys put out for Burke County, and the areas of population and growth in Burke County are twofold. One is in Girard, no surprise there, right? And then Keysville, Hepzibah, Blythe, because of Augusta-Richmond County seep down. And I think what you're going to start seeing is RV parks, which, again, based on the definition, it's a non-conforming use is how it's currently being used. They're going to start creeping up to different areas of Burke County to accommodate housing shortages or mobile homes or any other issue that accommodates a short-term thinking or a short mindset on how to accommodate housing when you need it. So I guess the takeaway is that what's happening right now, in accordance with the code, should not be happening, right? No vacation, no recreational purposes for any of these RV parks. I think what needs to happen is that the Land Development Code should be amended, and I'm happy to help provide any services you guys need for that endeavor, to do two things. One, create commercial campsites with this definition for vacation or recreational purposes. But if you do that, you have to have a limitation on occupancy, a week, 2 weeks, however long you want to decide you want to stay on a vacation. But based on what I've seen about these campsites or these RV parks in Waynesboro, they're in a field that's clear-cut, and a little 2-acre plot is carved out with as many RVs as you can get in it. I don't think that's for recreation or vacation use. So if we do that, we'd amend the code to include an occupancy restriction on those types of sites. And then you could also have a residential RV park, because I get it, why we needed additional housing for Vogel. Like, it was an obvious need. Yes, ma'am. I'm sure I am, sorry. I appreciate it. So it's an obvious need, so I think we'd have to amend to, if it is going to be a dwelling place, like mobile homes are defined or modular homes are defined in the code, it's a place of dwelling and a permitted use of that type of facility, which you could make an RV a dwelling place, but it'd have to be rezoned. You couldn't just drop them in A1 here and there. You have to rezone it, and that would give the neighbors surrounding that area the opportunity to come and let their voices be heard as to whether they want a permanent RV park right beside their house.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Fowler? Any questions for Mr. Fowler? I suggest before, at some time of point, Scott, get with Scott, and you can present your idea or some type of presentation to him.
And that's one of the reasons why item number 8, if we're gonna do that tonight, is to step back and look at it from all the rest of it.
Yeah, and during that phase, I'm happy to provide direction. Other counties have had the same issue, and we can look to their codes.
And our attorney, Adam, he sat in on planning and zoning commissions with them too, so he heard what you said too, so I thought it was good.
Okay. Thank you for the time. I'm sorry to take so long.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I've got the codes here if you want to see them.
I'm trying to, were you in Miss Huddleston's first grade class? Okay, well then you and Marquette, and Adam, this Adam right here. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have Mr. Jimmy Duke's request for easement into County Road.
Thank you for having me and allowing me a chance to come to say what I need to say. Sometime ago, I moved to Burke County about 14 years ago, and bought a little place for a farm, about 140 acres, and it was kind of just land and for development, and made my home there. But double wide and raised my grandson there. When I moved there, it was a divided road. One part of it had McBean Club Road, another part had McBean Club Road extension with a PVP. And And I asked about it, and they said, well, that was for private. Well, nobody lived on the road but another gentleman. And I had a difficult time with some of the things that I was trying to get back there, get my double wide back there, and to get electricity back there. And I had Panthers and had a little bit of trouble with the one neighbor that I did have. And but finally, everything worked out, and I was able to move and had my grandkids back there. And everything, I was able to work, and everything was pretty peaceful. And all of a sudden here lately, about 6 months ago, I received a letter from Verizon that they would like to speak with me about leasing them some land for a cell tower. And of course I met with them, and we sort of had an agreement, and they sort of started sending their people around. And all of a sudden there was a big mix-up about the road. The road had PVT on it, private. And my neighbor said they couldn't have an easement, but I could, even though they were going to lease 100 feet from me. He had to give them, and I thought that was just downright crazy, you know, that he could tell me what to do on my land and he didn't own it. So he told them that they wouldn't be able to do that, to deal with me. And but of course, that being a big company, Verizon being a big company, and they were busy working. They work all over the United States, all over the world like that. And they were having this little trouble with me. And they decided that they would kind of hang in there to see why. And my neighbor called them and said he would be glad to lease his land to him, and he wouldn't have to deal with me anymore. And of course, I kind of took a little exception to that, and the Verizon people said they wouldn't do that anyway. And they have worked with me up until now. And my problem is that I don't want an easement. I want that to be made a county-maintained road, if that's possible. I pay my taxes every year. People come through my land, going to hunting clubs. I don't ask for no easement. I figure easement is their right. Is their right? You know, I don't even know who the people are, but I assume that that's their right, and it says easement, but I am sort of just tired of this gentleman pulling my chain every time. And I want this commission to do something about it, because that's not fair. And I've held people like Verizon, they get on a schedule, they know what they want to do. They were trying to work with me. this was good for the county. I brought everybody all the commissioners notes tonight that came from one of the executives of Verizon, saying what they need and what they wanted. And that my land provides that. I didn't go looking for them. They came to me. And I ought to have the right to do business with them, I think. And they're being held up right now, but they said they will wait to see how this is going to turn out. And they were intending to be halfway through with this by now, but they just waiting to. And they have provided all sorts of documents, and the man who made all this happen, I think he just did this to keep me awake at night and hadn't even showed up. When I talked to him, to have him to call me back. And when he didn't call me back, I called again. And his wife said, you just go ahead and do what you need to do. And I had betted some of my friends $100 that he wouldn't be here tonight, and he's not. Because all he wanted to do was just cause me a lot of misery. And he's done that. So I guess he has succeeded in one way, but I hope he don't succeed in me not getting this road changed to a county maintained road so Verizon can do what they need to do to make phone calls better. You see what they're going to do. Give each one of you a paper as what their intentions are for Burke County. And it's a win-win-win for Burke County. So I hope you will consider this and do it real fast as soon as you can so they can continue their work. And I will feel like that I have done something for myself and for the town. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
Any comments from the board?
Well, Merv,
Yes.
may I ask a question? And Mr. Jimmy and I have discussed this, and I understand his problem, but I see the Verizon letter, and me and Mr. Jimmy talked about this briefly, and I should have followed up, but I didn't have this letter until tonight. I think that if, number one, we can't legally, I'm asking, take over this road because of the same situation Mr. Jimmy has. I mean, the Verizon is asking us to approve a special use permit, but without his neighbors allowing us to do that. Again, new guy asking questions.
That is correct. There's a process for the county to take over maintenance of a road. The county ordinance requires that, not only requires, it obligates the commissioners to take over maintenance on any road that is built to county's road standards, which is either 60 or 80 foot right-of-way, paved ditches and shoulders built and put in. If the developer brings that road to us, we're obligated to accept that road. Other than that, we're violating our policy. The second issue is, even if the board wanted to take over maintenance on this private drive, you don't own the property. The county doesn't own the property. We'd be going on somebody's private property, working a driveway. And so we would have to have their permission. And that would still be in violation of our ordinance.
But there is already, there was already a bus route for a school bus to come down to it.
That's
there
fine.
was already
Yeah.
telephone lines put down that road underground.
That's fine.
Now,
That doesn't mean the taxpayers have to fix that road. You're asking, and you've got a good proposal in that Verizon wants to put a cell tower, but what you're asking us to do is the county taxpayers to go in, take two other people's property to build a road so that the Verizon can put a cell tower back there. And we can't take their property.
They're gonna put a cell tower on my property, not anybody else.
That's exactly right. They want to put it on your property, and you want us to take Mr. Weeks' property, Ms. Saxon's property, and then Ms. Miller's property. It is a private drive, an easement through there. It is not a county road.
I think Mr. Jimmy, and again, full transparency, me and Mr. Jimmy are pretty good buddies, but I think we would be in the same legal fight with your neighbor, and I don't think that we can't, we'd have to take his property in order to have our full right-of-way to go down there. And again, it's against our policy, but the biggest thing is we'd be in a legal fight with your neighbor that I don't think we can do. I mean, am I mistaken?
Adam, so I have a question in general for easements, but can another property owner deny him use of the easement for something like this?
It depends on how that easement is both drafted and acquired. Normally, if the easement's not recorded, then Mr. Dukes can make use of it, but only to the extent that he's got it. In other words, he couldn't necessarily expand the use of that easement. If it's a recorded easement that says it can be used for any purpose, then Verizon could make use of it as well.
So we're just talking about Verizon driving a truck down through the easement, right, and hauling their equipment.
You have to research it.
Yeah.
You have to hire a lawyer to look at the evaluation and determine how that easement is acquired. My assumption is based on the location of that property cut out or the grass on it. That easement is probably by implication, probably not recorded. That's my guess. That's purely speculative. And to make a lot of this point, essentially, I think Mr. Duke's request is for this body to acquire a right of way for the construction of the road. And as every commissioner up here knows, that is something we're asking to do quite often for our citizens. The question is really whether or not that's something you want to do. To Murph's point, it would require an estate. And what I can tell, at least 3 property owners, that would be Marcia and Miller, Earl Weeks, and Marvin Saxon, which is listed as at all, and not just that could be Uncle Saxon's past or several members of the family.
It's part of his mother's estate.
So you would be undertaking a pretty heavy amount to acquire that right away and prove that. I don't know if that's the purview of the board. If you so choose, we can do that. That's going to require you to hire a surveyor, hire an appraiser. And then as Murph said, I would honestly, I'm sure you accept the road that standard you want to be. If it's not, then we'll be taking roads that aren't as up to standard in the future based on what that actually says. But further than last one, I don't give it too much advice, but in general, I would hire an attorney to review what their rights are. That person can probably give you an argument whether or not you have the right to that or whether you don't. And then obviously you can move forward with that. But that's, once again, that's just me saying that generally I don't think it's not.
I got an attorney, but he wasn't able to be here tonight. I got Mr. Jackson Cox. But, so why does this leave? You know, because the sections, I bought the land from the section, but I think he's dead. And all the people who drive through there, who I have to give me easement to, have to give me easement. What does that mean? You know, Mr. Weeks didn't show up. He just said, you can't use no easement. And how can anybody just take control of your tax?
this body can help, support it. They can force them to be your other landowners, let you make these reasons that's what it's happening.
Can this body turn that private road into a public road?
Yes, it is.
It was once a public road.
That's the direction of the board, they certainly could, but I will leave that to their person, if that's what they want to do. That's the only way that they can.
I'd like for you to consider that. I'm a taxpayer. I've been paying more than $1,000 a year for 14 years. And I don't have no trash pickup, no trash dump as well. I just pay my taxes every year and go about my business. And there's not that much to be done to the road. It was private, it was public when they wanted to be public, and it's private when they wanted to be private. But something needs to be done.
Not in the last 20 years. I don't think it's ever been a public road.
Not in the last 20 years.
No, sir. It's been a private road, and even looking on the old county maps, it shows McBean Club Road as a public road that dead ends, but it never has shown McBean Club Extension as a county road. I think your best bet is to contact your lawyer and try to work it out with your neighbors.
All right. So that means I need to get a lawyer and go to court. Right?
Well, not necessarily go to court, just whatever he tells you as far as your easement rights. Your easement rights might give you the right for them to haul their trucks down the road, but it's gonna take an attorney to determine that.
All right. I'm satisfied, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Dukes. Item number 6, rezoning request, Gary Flakes, Aaron Now.
Air Now has requested to rezone a parcel of property on Story Mill Road as parcel 054-057. It's currently zoned CG, commercial, and he's asking to go to R1 residential. The property was zoned commercial as it was owned by Applewood Golf Course. Applewood is selling the property to Air Now, to Mr. Flakes, and he wants to use it for a residence. So the county's ordinance doesn't allow a residence in the commercial zoning district. So he's asking to go from commercial to R1. Planning Commission held a hearing. There was no opposition. Planning Commission's recommended approval of this zone change. And there are adjacent R1 properties right next to it on either side.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Nix, that we accept the recommendation of the rezoning, of the zoning planning commission. All in favor? Unanimous. Next item, rezoning request, Waldron Family Trust, from A1 to R1.
This property is located on Murray Hill Road, just south of Sardis. It is parcel 125-067. The owners, or the Waldron Family Trust, want to sell an acre of their 67 acre parcel and to be used as a residence. The property is currently zoned A1 agriculture. That limits lot sizes to 5 acres. So in order to sell off a 1 acre tract for a home site, they're asking for rezoning to R1. A public hearing was held by the Planning Commission. There was no opposition, and the Planning Commission has recommended approval of the rezoning request.
Can we get a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we accept the zoning committee's recommendation and approve it.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Nix, second by Commissioner Abrams, that we accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission. All in favor? Unanimous. Next item, consideration of resolution implementing a 90-day moratorium on commercial and recreational campgrounds and on non-residential uses in low-density residential zoning districts.
Due to several recent issues with land use conflicts, the Planning Commission is asking the board to implement a 90-day moratorium to give them some time to review our land development code to see if they can address some of these conflicts. The two particular issues, they're asking for moratorium on commercial and recreational campgrounds countywide, and they're also asking for a moratorium on non-residential uses in the low-density R1, low-density residential districts. And there's a resolution for the board to consider. This has come in as a recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Madam Chairman, one more further question. I'll make a motion to pass the resolution and then the 90-day moratorium on commercial recreational campgrounds and non-residential use in low-density residential zoning districts.
Motion made by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Abrams, that we adopt the resolution implementing the 90-day moratorium. All in favor? Unanimous. Now we'll go to our bid opening. Our first bid opening is detention center interior painting, and then we'll just go in line, then 10, the breathing apparatus, gear of EMA, and then the bid opening for fuel farm project.
All right, the first one is the painting of the detention center, interior painting. Let's see. The first bid is from CBS Painting. Their price is $85,000 even. $85,000 even for CBS Painting. CB, like the TV network. The second bid doesn't say on the outside. Second bid is CertaPro painters of the CSRA. Their price is $55,368.51. So that's CertaPro painters of the CSRA, $55,368.51. And the third bid, the same company sent in two. And I'm going to open the more recent one first. Should be the replacement bid. This is from Global Painting, LLC. The second bid, the most recent bid, is $98,000 even. $98,000 from Global Painting, LLC. And I think this is to replace, I'll open the other one, but I think the $98,000 was to replace that one. The original one was $85,000 even. Yes, and the more recent one's 98,000. Sheriff's Office reviewed. All right, the next bid opening is for the SCBA, or breathing apparatus. This is equipment used by firefighters and EMTs. Let's see, first bid is from Fireline. All right, their bid is $450,320. This is Fireline, $450,320. I understand this would be to replace all our SCBA units for the entire department. The next one is from 10-8 Fire Equipment. Their bid is $500,772.70. That's 10-8, $500,772.70. Next one, I'll have to open it to see. Bid in a bid. Municipal Emergency Services. We got a sealed bid. The bid from Municipal Emergency Services, or MES, is $472,244. $472,244. And the final one is from NAFCO. Their bid is $386,681. NAFCO, which is North American Fire Equipment Company, is $386,681. Chief, will let you look through these. Have them ready for the Finance Committee. All right, the last item is bid opening for a fuel farm at the airport. And we've got 4 envelopes. 2 of them are from the same company. First one is Contract Management Incorporated. And their bid is $796,953.31. $796,953.31. Next bid is from, L&T Incorporated. Their bid is $469,875. So L&T is $469,875. Next bid is JF Petroleum Group. Their bid is $796,485. So that's JF Petroleum Group, $796,485.
Okay, the Finance Committee will meet tomorrow Finance Committee will meet at 4:30 tomorrow.
I got
it's
one
another
more.
one?
It's
Okay.
from, it says J&F, and I think it's their bid bond, but we better open it just to be sure. They really sealed this one up. That's what it is, bid bonds.
Okay, we're going to item number 12, final reading of ordinance 21-01, requiring 2 readings for ordinance amendments.
This ordinance is on the agenda for final consideration. It would require 2 readings for an amendment to the county's code of ordinances.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve, ordinance 21-01, requiring 2 readings for this amendment.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, we have motion made by Commissioner Nick, second by Commissioner Lively, that we accept the final ordinance reading for 21-01 amendment. All in favor? Unanimous. Next item, final reading of ordinance 21-02, changing the position of county administrator to county manager.
This ordinance is also on the agenda for final reading, final approval. It would change the position of county administrator to county manager.
Okay, can we get a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the final reading ordinance 21-02, changing the position of county administrator to county manager.
Second.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Nick, second by Commissioner Lively, that we accept the changing of position of county administrator to county manager. All in favor? Okay, 3 in favor. All opposed? 2 opposed. The ayes have it. Next item, final reading of ordinance 21-03, amending the speed zone code.
And this ordinance is also on the agenda for final approval. One item to note, we had discussed at the last meeting about whether it was necessary to have speed limits and speed zones in the county's code of ordinances. Checked with the sheriff's department as well as magistrate and state court, and both agreed that, or all 3 agreed that even though they don't use it very often, it does give them another tool to use in trying to enforce speed limits. So they have all recommended approval of this ordinance and this change.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the final reading for ordinance 21-03, amending the speed zone code.
Motion made by Commissioner Nix, second by Commissioner Martin, that we amend the speed zone code ordinance 21-01. All in favor? Ayes have it. Okay, first reading of the ordinance 2104, amending hearing procedures in the land development code.
All right, I'll explain this one a little more. When the county first adopted the zoning ordinance or put zoning in the land development code, there was a requirement to have a public hearing before the Board of Commissioners and the Planning Commission. The board made a change and decided that would let the Planning Commission hold the hearing. That way you had all the testimony in one setting, and then they would make a recommendation after hearing from the public to the county commission. When we made an amendment to the land development code for solar farms, it was inadvertently put back in to have public hearings before the county commission. So this ordinance goes back to the original, the previous position of letting the planning commission hold the public hearings for zoning changes, and with the final decision being made at the Board of Commissioners level. And it's a lot of text to make those few changes, but it changed 2 or 3 places in it, wherever there were references for public hearings. Planning Commission did review this and has recommended approval of this ordinance change.
Okay, any discussion? If not, can we get a motion?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we approve first reading ordinance 21-04, amending the land development code, Article 9, administrative procedures.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Hicks, second by Commissioner Abrams, that we amend, this is first reading, and we amend the hearing procedure in the land development code, and that code is 2104. All in favor? Unanimous. Renewal of mutual aid agreement with the City of Swainsboro.
The City of Swainsboro has, for years, had a mutual aid agreement with Burke County. They are asking for renewal of that agreement. They pretty much every year ask for renewal of the agreement. We've reviewed it, have no objection. EMA has no objection to renewing our agreement with Swainsboro. I think we can leave it the same, and it's been the same as before, but it does not hurt to renew that agreement and send them a new copy of it each year.
Madam Chairman, I'll make the motion to renew mutual aid agreement with the City of Swainsboro.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Abrams, that we renew the mutual aid agreement with the City of Swainsboro. All in favor? Unanimous. Next item, renewal of MOU with the Georgia Forestry Commission.
The Georgia Forestry Commission has loaned equipment to the county through the years. They want us to renew our agreement or to our memorandum of understanding to make it clear that equipment still belongs to the Forestry Commission, even though we're using it on our trucks, and that should we no longer need the equipment, it needs to be returned back to the Forestry Commission. There's a specific list of that, and that's been updated. It's mostly tanks that are on our truck and chassis.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion we renew the agreement with the MAU with the fire department.
Madam Chair, I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Abrams, second by Commissioner Nix, that we renew MOU with the Georgia Forestry Commission. All in favor? Unanimous. Item number 18, adoption of disadvantaged business enterprise plan.
As the county receives federal money for the airport, one of the requirements of FAA is that we adopt a disadvantaged business enterprise plan, or DBE plan. Under the study that was done and the plan that's recommended for us, our current year goal would be 7.6% of our contract dollars would be awarded to DBE businesses. These are our contracts at the airport. Also, the goal would be for 2023 would be 9.48% of those contracts. We believe that we can easily meet these requirements. There's an ample availability of DBE contractors in the area, so should not be a problem, and it helps us meet our goals with the FAA. So I recommend that we adopt the DBE plan.
Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion we adopt the plan.
Motion made by Commissioner Abrams, second by Commissioner Martin, that we adopt the disadvantaged business enterprise plan. All in favor? Unanimous. Next item, approval of task order for Mays Air for construction administration for fuel system project.
As we are beginning the installation of a fuel system, we have a task order from our consultant to help us process the construction, to review the drawdowns and pay requests. That the cost for that construction administration would be $54,598.15. The Georgia DOT has reviewed and has approved the cost items on the task order. And one other thing to point out is that we would be receiving 95% reimbursement on the fuel system project. Are there any questions?
We approve the task order for Mays Air construction administrative fuel system.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Nick, second by Commissioner Abrams, that we approve the task order for Mays Air for construction of administration of the fuel system project. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, the next item, approval of runway extension supplemental contract with DOT for wetland mitigation.
Amanda, if you're still okay, I may need a little help. I'll try to explain it and you can finish it up. We have some money left over on our runway extension contract. We also have a problem of wetlands that are at the end of the runway that are attracting herons, egrets, and ibises, and those are in conflict with air traffic trying to get in and out. Previously, there had been some wetlands there, but there were trees, so the birds didn't gather. Now that it's open, it's a dangerous situation. We've asked the DOT to approve using some of that contract money to eliminate the wetlands. They've agreed it needs to be done. They will fund that project. What did I miss?
Just the time extension, because this is originally the runway extension project from 2 years ago, we need to extend that contract for, I think we requested 9 more months to complete the wetlands. So primarily this is time extension plus what Murph said. And then next month we will come back to you with the taxiway extension contract, and that's where you'll have additional projects being reimbursed in that contract. So this contract is time extension plus wetlands.
So it will extend the amount and then readjust the funds within that contract. So there's no additional money to the construction contract, but it lets us use the money
That's right.
Since we had some left over.
That's right. And because they're state funds, they would normally expire and go straight back to the general fund downtown Atlanta. This extending that contract allows the county to continue to use those funds, which currently are at 75% state, 25% local. So there's no additional funds requested from the county. It's just using the funds that were already encumbered.
So in using those funds, in order to get rid of the wetlands, so we can, they still not gonna let us extend it out further?
Not right now.
Extend the runway further?
Right.
No, not right now. No, this is primarily to take care of those wetlands that remained after that runway extension construction was complete. Now, this will come next month, but what we also were able to negotiate with GDOT was some additional federal funds to go ahead and participate in the fueling contract, design, bidding, and construction. But those will come next month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had them all organized into this, and that's what we had discussed with Merv. But last week, GDOT wanted to split them out to keep it cleaner, which I know I just ended up putting a whole batch back in there. But this is primarily just for the time extension for the wetlands. But another runway extension opportunity is something that we'll have to discuss in the future for sure.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to the runway extension supplement contract with DOT for wetland mitigation.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Abrams, that we approve the runway extension supplemental contract. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, item 22, adoption of resolution and pre-approval of contract for $9,000 for coronavirus grant for the airport.
We were approved for $9,000 out of the Coronavirus Relief Act back in December. The state is, the money's going through Georgia DOT and then will be appropriated to us. We have to apply for it. We have prepared an application. It needs to be used for operating expenses and not for capital, but we've got a number of expenses that we can turn in for that $9,000 to offset what we would normally have spent for maintenance at the airport.
Is it a time limit?
There is, I'm trying to think when they need it by the end of April, the application, or sometime in April, I can't remember. I know we're going to be well ahead of April 19th is the time limit to have it done. So we wanted to go ahead and get it turned in and then get the funds. Moving back to the county.
Okay.
I make a motion we approve for the $9,000 for the grant.
Can we get a second? Motion made by Commissioner Abrams, second by Commissioner Martin, that we adopt the resolution for the pre-approval of the contract for the $9,000 for the coronavirus grant. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, item 23, filling vacancy on hospital authority.
Dr. Johnny Christian has submitted his resignation from the hospital authority. The board needs to appoint a citizen of the county to fill his unexpired term on that authority. That term would run through August of 2023.
Okay, I don't think we have a concrete person yet. Some person on the commission has spoken with different individuals, but they have to get a commitment. So we'd like to table this for the next meeting.
All right, we'll put it on next month's agenda.
Okay, item 24, request for exemptions from vehicle marking requirements.
There's been some discussion about the requirement for county vehicles to be marked. State law requires that every vehicle owned by the Board of Commissioners that's not used for public safety be marked unless you specifically exempt that vehicle. And there's a process for the exemption, which would mean we would have to advertise, hold a public hearing, and grant an exemption that would expire 1 year later and have to go through that process again. My own recommendation to the board is that accountability is a good thing, and that we need to just go ahead and mark all our county vehicles, the ones that are owned by the Board of Commissioners, and not have to go through the public hearing. We've had a few departments that have made some requests, and if you want to proceed, we will have a public hearing next month. But I wanted to ask the board if you wanted to go that route. My recommendation is that we just mark all our county vehicles.
Now, it's an exemption for law enforcement. Right?
It's an exemption for law enforcement. There's no action needed unless you want to do something different. All right. Here none, we will get everybody, all our vehicles get decals on them.
Do we have, Adam, do we have anybody signing? Okay, update on Glsen Road. Okay, I'll leave that to Tommy.
Okay, so we had our Public Works Committee meeting last Wednesday, and we took number 1 on the list off the road because it was completed in early fall last year, and that was the north part of William Tinley Road. Cobb Road moves up to number 1 spot. The second part of William Tinley Road is still on number 2, but there's issues with property acquisition and ceding right away. And it moved River Road to number 7 through the issues we're having with number 6. The issues we're having with right away from DNR, and that put Glsen Road in number 3 spot. So the next thing we will do there is the road department will have a surveyor survey the right away, and then after all that's done, then they'll send out right away acquisitions to the property owners. So that's where we are with Glsen Road.
Okay, you got that, Miss Ruby? Okay, all right.
We have placed a updated priority list in each of your mailboxes. So,
Okay.
So you can have it for future reference.
Okay, do we have any county heads? Scott, would you like to say anything or give a report? Well, I think that's pretty much it. Isn't
We
it?
got Scott here. That's the only one.
I know, he said he didn't want to say anything. Okay. Anything else from the body? Anything else from the board? If not, meeting adjourned.